Throughout history, empires were born from wars and conquest. From Alexander the Great to the Roman Empire, and from Genghis Khan to the British Empire, military expansion was the main path to global influence. But in the 21st century, we are witnessing a unique phenomenon: the rise of a new global power that does not rely on armies but on economics, technology, and diplomacy. That power is China. In just 40 years, it transformed from a poor and isolated nation into the world's second largest economy. This astonishing rise, which lifted 800 million people out of poverty, did not come through tanks and aircraft, but through ports, railways, loans, and investments. How did China achieve this historic transformation? What strategies did it use to build global influence peacefully? And is this rise an opportunity for the world or a new challenge? The economic miracle, from isolation to the heart of the global economy. China's economic transformation is one of the greatest achievements in modern history. In 1978, GDP per capita was less than $200 per year. Today, it exceeds $12,000, more than 60 times in 4 decades. This growth was no coincidence, but the result of a well-planned strategy known as gradualism and experimentation. China began by creating special economic zones in coastal cities where foreign investment was allowed. These zones acted as laboratories for capitalism within a communist system. China benefited from its young and abundant labor force and attracted multinational companies to move their factories there. Gradually, it moved from labor-intensive industries to more advanced ones and eventually into high-tech industries. Today, China is the world's largest exporter with $3.3 trillion annually, and the second largest importer with $2.7 trillion. Its foreign trade exceeds $6 trillion annually. It is the largest trading partner for more than 120 countries, giving it great global influence. The Belt and Road Initiative, reviving the ancient Silk Road. China's most important strategic tool is the Belt and Road Initiative, launched by President Xi Jinping in 2013. It is the largest infrastructure plan in human history, with an estimated cost between $1 and $8 trillion. The initiative aims to connect more than 60 countries, home to 2/3 of the world's population and 1/3 of the global GDP, through a network of ports, railways, and highways. China provides massive loans to developing countries to build infrastructure such as ports, airports, and power plants. Through financing these projects, China gains significant influence. These countries become economically dependent on China and more likely to support its political positions. China also gains access to natural resources and new markets. Examples include Gwadar Port in Pakistan, Piraeus Port in Greece. Mombasa-Nairobi Railway in Kenya, China, views the initiative as a mutually beneficial plan, while critics call it debt trap diplomacy. The tech revolution, from made in China to invented in China. China aims to shift from the world's factory to a technological superpower. The government invests hundreds of billions in research and development, targeting leadership in artificial intelligence, 5G, quantum computing, and biotechnology. R&D spending rose from 1.4% of GDP in 2007 to 2.4% in 2020. Companies like Huawei, Alibaba, and Tencent have grown into global giants. Huawei is the largest telecommunications equipment supplier and a leader in 5G. Alibaba is the largest e-commerce company. Tencent is the world's largest gaming company. China fiercely competes with the US in AI. In electric vehicles, China is both the largest market and producer. It also produces more than half of global lithium batteries. This technological progress gives China strong economic and geopolitical power. It also increases its soft power through platforms like TikTok, used by more than 1 billion people. China invests heavily in soft power to influence through cultural appeal. It seeks to present itself as a responsible power and a civilizational alternative to the West. A major tool is the Confucius Institutes, centers dedicated to teaching Chinese language and culture. There are more than 500 institutes in over 160 countries. More than 400,000 international students study in China yearly. China also practices panda diplomacy, gifting giant pandas as symbols of friendship. It invests in global media, Hollywood, and provides humanitarian aid. During COVID-19, China delivered billions of vaccine doses, strengthening its image as a responsible global actor. Reshaping the global system, multilateral diplomacy. China works to reshape the global order to reflect its rising weight. It builds new alliances that challenge Western dominance. The most important initiative is BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, representing 40% of the world population and 25% of global GDP. In 2023, it expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, the UAE, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. China also established the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, an alternative to the World Bank, with over 100 members. It leads cooperation within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and is Africa's largest trading partner. In Latin America, it challenges traditional U.S. influence. Environmental challenge. From biggest polluter to clean energy leader. China is the world's largest carbon emitter, accounting for 30% of global emissions. Rapid growth came with severe environmental costs, harming citizens' health and China's international image. But change is underway. In 2020, President Xi Jinping announced that China will peak emissions by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. China is now the global leader in renewable energy. It is the biggest producer of solar and wind energy and manufactures more than half the world's solar panels. It invests more than $100 billion annually in renewable energy. Chinese companies dominate global markets in solar panels, lithium batteries, and wind turbines. This shift reduces reliance on energy imports while strengthening China's green leadership. China faces serious demographic and social challenges. The one-child policy, 1979 to 2015, lowered the birth rate to 1.3 children per woman. By 2050, more than 400 million people will be over 65. The workforce has been shrinking since 2012, threatening future growth. Healthcare and pension costs will rise sharply. The dependency ratio will shift from 1 to 7 today to 1 to 3 by 2050. Rapid growth also increased inequality. The gap between rich and poor and between rural and urban areas widened significantly. The Gini coefficient rose from 0.3 in the 1980s to more than 0.47 today. The government is addressing these issues by ending the one-child policy and investing in social protection and poverty reduction. Challenges and the future. Can peaceful rise continue? China's strategy faces increasing challenges. There is growing global resistance to its influence, especially from Western nations. Some countries fear debt accumulation and question China's true intentions. Competition with the U.S. is escalating. The U.S. sees China's rise as a threat to its dominance, leading to trade wars, tech rivalry, and military alliances. China also faces geopolitical issues in the South China Sea, Taiwan, and Xinjiang. Domestic challenges require massive resources that may limit China's global ambitions. China's future depends on its ability to reassure the world about its intentions, manage competition with the US, and solve its internal problems. Will it avoid the Thucydides trap and maintain its peaceful rise? Traditional and modern medicine, a bridge between civilizations. China uses its rich medical heritage as an influential soft power tool. Traditional Chinese medicine, with a history spanning thousands of years, is gaining increasing popularity around the world. Acupuncture, herbal medicine, therapeutic massage, and energy practices such as Tai Chi and Kung Fu have all become part of global health culture. The World Health Organization has officially recognized traditional Chinese medicine and included it in its international classification of diseases. This global recognition enhances China's status as a medical and cultural power. China exports traditional medical products worth billions of dollars annually and trains thousands of foreign doctors in its healing techniques. At the same time, China invests heavily in modern medicine and advanced medical technology. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it developed several effective vaccines and provided them to the world, strengthening its image as a responsible global medical power. This blend of tradition and modernity makes China a unique model in the medical field. China's rise is complex and multifaceted. It presents a new model of global influence based on economics, technology, and diplomacy, rather than military conquest. This model may be more stable, but it raises questions about sovereignty, dependency, and the future of the global system. China offers opportunities, infrastructure investment, accessible technology, an alternative to Western dominance, but it also raises concerns: power concentration, economic pressure for political leverage, impact on democratic values. The truth is complex, containing both opportunities and risks. Regardless of views, China is reshaping the world in profound ways. Understanding its strategies, goals, and challenges is essential to understanding the 21st century. China's story is far from over. The world is watching closely to see how the next chapter of this extraordinary saga will be written. In a world where nations are fighting over oil, gold, and rare minerals, one country quietly holds the greatest treasure of the future. This country isn't in the oil-rich Middle East or the mineral-rich regions of Africa. It lies in the cold northern hemisphere, where Canada, America's quiet neighbor, controls a resource that may soon become the most valuable on Earth. Canada owns 20% of the world's fresh water, a stunning figure for a nation with only 38 million people, fewer than the population of the US state of California. This means every Canadian theoretically has access to more than 80,000 cubic meters of fresh water, compared to the global average of 1,200 cubic meters per person. This isn't just a massive natural wealth. It is also a silent geopolitical power, one that will only grow more important with time. But Canada is not merely a giant water reservoir. It is a quiet economic force, a model of multiculturalism, and an example of how to live beside a superpower without losing national identity. So how did Canada build this silent empire? What are the secrets behind its success in a world full of conflict? In this video, we uncover the hidden factors behind Canada's rise as a quiet global power, and how it may become one of the most important countries in the world in the near future. Geography and endless resources. Canada's strength begins with its unique geography. It is the second largest country in the world, with a land area of 9.98 million square kilometers, filled with countless natural treasures. Glaciers that once covered the Canadian landscape carved out more than 2 million lakes. And the country has the longest coastline in the world, stretching 2,080 kilometers. The St. Lawrence River alone carries 25% of the world's fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean. These aren't just impressive numbers. This freshwater wealth forms the foundation of life and economic activity in Canada and provides massive amounts of clean hydroelectric power. Canada's geography is extremely diverse, from the towering Rocky Mountains in the west to the endless prairies in the center, to the dense forests in the east, and to the frozen tundra of the north. It is a continent within a country. This diversity creates a rich biological environment with species found nowhere else, from polar bears to mountain goats. Canada's water isn't only lakes and rivers, it's a complex network of ecosystems. Wetlands act as natural filters and help prevent floods. Glaciers in the Rockies supply water to major cities like Calgary and Edmonton. But that's only one part of the story. Canada is the third largest oil producer in the world and holds the second largest confirmed oil reserves after Saudi Arabia. It produces 71% of the world's potash, essential for fertilizers, and 15% of the world's uranium, the fuel for nuclear reactors. Its forests cover 347 million hectares, about 9% of the world's forest, acting as the planet's lungs. At the center of all this lies the Canadian Shield, an ancient geological core that covers half the country. It is rich in gold, nickel, and copper, while also being the source of thousands of lakes and rivers. Together, these resources, from water to minerals to forest, give Canada economic independence and strategic security unmatched by most nations. In a world running out of resources, Canada holds the keys to the future. Economic power, from resources to technology. Despite its enormous natural wealth, Canada avoided the resource curse. Its economy is diverse and advanced, with services making up 70% of GDP. As a member of the G7, Canada has the 10th largest economy in the world. Its banking sector is one of the strongest and most stable globally, and it didn't require government bailouts during the 2008 financial crisis. This stability attracts foreign investment and strengthens global confidence in the Canadian economy. Canada also has a long history of innovation. Canadians invented insulin, the telephone, and the pacemaker. Today, Canada is a major hub for artificial intelligence, led by scientists like Geoffrey Hinton. Companies like Shopify and BlackBerry have proven Canada's ability to compete in global technology markets. But Canada hasn't abandoned its traditional industries. It remains one of the biggest exporters of agricultural products, including wheat and canola. It has a strong aviation sector, with companies like Bombardier competing globally. Trade with the United States is the backbone of its economy, with nearly $2 billion in goods and services crossing the border every day. In tech, Canada goes beyond AI. Waterloo is a global center for quantum technology. The Canadian video game industry is the third largest in the world, with studios for Ubisoft and Electronic Arts Canada. Is not just a resource economy, it is a knowledge economy. Human power, immigration, education, and identity. Canada's true power lies in the minds of its people. Through the Express Entry system, Canada selects immigrants based on skills. Bringing in 400,000 new immigrants each year today, 22% of Canadians were born outside the country, the highest level among developed nations. This policy ensures a steady flow of talent and keeps the economy dynamic. The Canadian government invests heavily in language training and employment support to ensure immigrants integrate effectively, economically, and socially. Education is another cornerstone. Canadian students consistently rank near the top in global assessments. More than 60% of adults have post-secondary education, the highest rate in the world. Canada's universities attract more than 800,000 international students, making the country a global hub for research and education. Identity also matters. Ice hockey is more than a sport. It is part of Canadian identity, uniting people across languages and cultures. Official multiculturalism, adopted in 1971, encourages cultural diversity instead of assimilation. This makes cities like Toronto and Vancouver some of the most culturally diverse on Earth. Add to that Canada's high quality of life, safe cities, clean streets, and universal healthcare. It is one of the most attractive countries in the world to live and work. Diplomatic power, quiet leadership in a turbulent world. Canada practices quiet diplomacy, preferring mediation over confrontation. Its soldiers have participated in more than 200 UN peacekeeping missions, more than any other nation, earning Canada global respect as a trustworthy mediator. Canada was a founding member of the UN and NATO. Canadian diplomat Lester Pearson won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1956 for resolving the Suez Crisis. However, Canada faces major challenges. Living next to the United States can overshadow its independent identity. Climate change is hitting Canada harder than most countries, and Arctic sovereignty is becoming increasingly contested as Russia and China expand their presence. Canada must balance its reliance on the U.S. with its desire for independence and balance resource extraction with environmental protection. The Arctic is a key battleground. Canada is investing in infrastructure, research, and cooperation with Indigenous communities to secure sustainable development in the region. Canada also plays a key role in global organizations like the OECD and the WTO, often acting as a middle power that builds alliances and defends international law. The future? A rising great power in a changing world. As global freshwater becomes scarce, Canada's strategic value rises. By 2050, an estimated 5 billion people will face water shortages. In this future, Canada will matter more than ever. Water will become the oil of the 21st century, and Canada has the world's largest reserve. The shift to a green economy is another opportunity. Canada is the second largest producer of hydroelectricity, and it holds major reserves of rare minerals essential for batteries and solar panels. Climate change may even benefit Canada in some ways. Warming temperatures will make vast northern regions suitable for farming and living. New Arctic shipping routes will reduce transportation costs. Natural resources in the Arctic will become easier to extract. But the challenges are real. Dependence on natural resource exports makes Canada vulnerable to price swings. An aging population strains the healthcare system. Balancing economic growth with environmental protection remains a critical challenge. One of Canada's biggest tests is reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, acknowledging past injustices and building a fairer future. Success in this area could make Canada a global model for justice and human rights. Canada's model for the 21st century Canada offers a unique blueprint for success in the modern world. A country that combines natural wealth with advanced industry, cultural diversity with social stability, and economic strength with quiet diplomacy. It proves that real power doesn't always shout. Sometimes real power is calm, steady, and built for the long term.
Imagine a country smaller than Central Park in New York, a place you could walk from east to west in under an hour. Now imagine that this tiny nation, just 2 square kilometers in size, is the richest country in the world, where a third of its population are millionaires and there are no poor at all. This is the Principality of Monaco, the sparkling jewel on the French Riviera. How did this tiny state, with no natural resources and no powerful army, become a haven for the wealthy and famous? How did it transform from a poor fishing village into a global hub of wealth and luxury? And what is the secret behind its control over billions of dollars despite being smaller than most neighborhoods in major cities? Monaco is the second smallest country in the world, after Vatican City. Its area is just 2.02 square kilometers, smaller than London's Heathrow Airport. With a population of around 38,000, it's the most densely populated country on Earth. Yet, this small size is actually one of its greatest secrets to success. Being small makes administration and control easier. The Monaco government can make fast, effective decisions without complex bureaucracy. Infrastructure and public services can reach the highest standards because resources are concentrated in a tiny geographic area. Most importantly, the small size creates a sense of privacy and security. Monaco is bordered by France on 3 sides and the Mediterranean Sea on the 4th. This makes monitoring borders and controlling who enters and exits the country much easier. Monaco has one of the highest police per capita rates in the world, and an extensive CCTV network covers every corner of the principality. The result? Nearly zero crime and a feeling of safety unmatched anywhere else on Earth. Monte Carlo Casino, the gamble that changed history. By the mid-19th century, Monaco was on the brink of bankruptcy. The ruling Grimaldi family was desperately seeking a new source of income. The solution came from a bold idea: build a luxurious casino to attract Europe's wealthy elite. In 1863, the Monte Carlo Casino opened its doors and quickly became the most famous and luxurious casino in the world. It didn't just bring massive revenue to the principality, it attracted wealthy tourists who built luxury hotels, villas, and mansions. Within a few years, Monaco had transformed from a poor village into a global resort of wealth and glamour. The success was so great that in 1869, Prince Charles III abolished all income taxes for Monaco's citizens and residents. This brilliant decision laid the foundation for Monaco's unique economic model, attracting wealthy individuals from around the world to benefit from a safe, tax-free haven. Today, the Monte Carlo Casino remains a symbol of luxury and elegance, contributing about 5% of Monaco's economy. More importantly, it sparked Monaco's economic revolution. Tax haven, the secret to attracting billionaires. The biggest secret behind Monaco's wealth is its unique tax system. Monaco imposes no personal income tax, no wealth tax, no inheritance tax, and no capital gains tax. This makes it a true haven for the rich seeking to protect their wealth from high taxes in their home countries. But how can a country survive without income tax? The answer lies in other forms of taxation. Monaco levies a 20% value-added tax, VAT, on goods and services, the same rate as France. It also imposes a 33% corporate tax, though many exemptions exist for companies that conduct most of their business outside Monaco. Additionally, real estate contributes significantly to Monaco's economy. Property prices in Monaco are the highest in the world, with 1 square meter exceeding 50,000 euros. The government owns many properties and benefits from rental and sales revenues. The result? 1/3 of Monaco's population are millionaires. Out of 38,000 residents, more than 12,000 are millionaires. That means if you walk the streets of Monaco, every 3rd person you meet is a millionaire. If the Monte Carlo Casino is the heart of Monaco, then the Formula One Grand Prix is its soul. This race, held annually on Monaco streets since 1929, is the most challenging, prestigious, and famous race in the world. Unlike modern racetracks, the Monaco Grand Prix takes place on narrow, winding city streets, weaving between luxury buildings and giant yachts. Drivers race at speeds up to 300 kilometers per hour, just centimeters away from barriers. A single mistake can end the race. But the Grand Prix isn't just a sporting event. It's a global celebration of wealth, speed, and elegance. It draws the world's richest individuals, from kings and princes to Hollywood stars and business magnates. During race weekend, Monaco fills with luxury yachts, private jets, and supercars. It's an unparalleled display of power and wealth. The race contributes over 100 million euros annually to Monaco's economy and reinforces its image as a global destination for luxury and excitement. It's truly the crown jewel in Monaco's tiny empire. Relationship with France, protection or control? Monaco is an independent sovereign state, but it heavily relies on its larger neighbor France. This complex relationship is key to Monaco's survival. Under the 1918 treaty, France agreed to protect Monaco's independence in exchange for Monaco aligning its policies with France's political, military, and economic interests. This means France is responsible for defending Monaco in case of an attack, but it also holds veto power over certain Monaco decisions. The customs union between France and Monaco means Monaco uses the euro as its official currency and applies the same VAT. This facilitates trade but limits Monaco's economic independence. French is the official language and Monaco's education system follows the French model. Even Monaco's prime minister must be a French citizen selected by the prince from 3 candidates proposed by the French government. Understanding Monaco requires understanding the Grimaldi family, which has ruled the principality for over 700 years. This is Europe's oldest ruling dynasty, surviving through cunning political maneuvers and strategic marriages. The story begins in 1297 when Francesco Grimaldi, disguised as a monk, seized Monaco's fortress. Since then, the Grimaldis have ruled Monaco almost continuously. They survived wars, revolutions, and conspiracies, transforming a barren rock into the world's wealthiest state. The current prince, Albert II, is the son of Prince Rainier III and the famous American actress Grace Kelly. Rainier and Grace's 1956 wedding was a global event that put Monaco on the world map and brought glamour that continues to this day. Prince Albert II continues his father's legacy, focusing on environmental protection, sustainability, and diversifying Monaco's economy beyond tourism and real estate. He faces major challenges such as maintaining Monaco's independence in a changing world and handling EU pressures for financial transparency. Challenges in the future: can the haven last? Despite all its success, Monaco faces significant challenges threatening its future. First, pressure from the European Union to end banking secrecy and tax havens. Monaco has had to sign agreements to exchange tax information, reducing its appeal as a tax haven. Second, heavy reliance on real estate makes its economy vulnerable to bubbles and financial crises. Any drop in global property prices could seriously impact Monaco's economy. Third, limited space is a huge challenge. Monaco cannot expand, meaning property prices will remain extremely high and population and economic growth are capped. The government is trying to solve this through land reclamation from the sea, but this is costly and temporary. Fourth, the demographic challenge. Native Monegasques are a minority, around 9,000 out of 38,000. Most residents are wealthy foreigners who don't necessarily engage in the country's political or social life. This creates a challenge in preserving Monaco's national identity. Luxury yachts, Monaco's floating fleet. No discussion of Monaco is complete without mentioning the luxury yachts filling Port Hercules, one of the world's most famous harbors. This port is more than a docking place. It's a permanent exhibition of the world's most expensive and luxurious yachts. During summer, the harbor transforms into a floating city of white palaces with yachts competing in size and extravagance. The Monaco Yacht Show, held every September, is the largest and most prestigious luxury yacht event globally. Over 125 giant yachts are showcased, each worth tens of millions, some reaching hundreds of millions. More than 30,000 visitors attend from around the world, including buyers, designers, engineers, and brokers. These yachts aren't just transportation, they're symbols of wealth and status. Many feature pools, helipads, submarines, cinemas, gyms, and even small hospitals. They are floating palaces providing owners with ultimate luxury and privacy. The yacht sector contributes significantly to Monaco's economy, not just through port fees and yacht sales, but also via maintenance, fuel, provisioning, and crew employment. It's an integral part of Monaco's identity as a global wealth capital. Arts and culture feeding the soul in the capital of money. While some might think Monaco is only about money and business, it's actually a major cultural hub. The Grimaldi family has always been patrons of the arts, turning the principality into a destination for music, ballet, opera, and fine arts. The Opera de Monte Carlo, located inside the casino building, is one of the world's most beautiful and famous opera houses. Over its history, it has hosted the world's most renowned singers and conductors. The Monte Carlo Ballet is also a leading company, offering innovative performances blending classical and contemporary styles. Monaco hosts numerous festivals and cultural events throughout the year, including the International Circus Festival, Spring Arts Festival, and Television Festival. These events attract artists and celebrities from around the world, enriching the principality's cultural life. Monaco also boasts important museums such as the Oceanographic Museum, founded by Prince Albert I in 1910, one of the world's oldest and most important maritime museums. It houses a rare collection of marine life and promotes awareness of ocean conservation. This focus on arts and culture adds another dimension to Monaco's character, proving it's more than a tax haven or luxury playground. Monaco's story is a remarkable tale of turning weakness into strength, showing how a tiny country can play a huge role on the global stage. It's a reminder that success doesn't depend on size or natural resources, but on vision, innovation, and adaptability. Monaco offers important lessons in diplomacy, economics, and branding. It has mastered the art of building a global reputation, attracting the wealthiest people in the world, and maintaining its independence despite the pressure from major powers. It's a unique model for creating a safe, prosperous, and sustainable society. Ultimately, Monaco isn't just a tax haven or a playground for the rich. It's a testament to human determination, proving that a barren rock can be transformed into a sparkling jewel. It's a story of how the world's smallest country can govern some of the largest fortunes, remaining independent and thriving for over 700 years, a lesson the world desperately needs today. You have everything anyone could dream of, and yet, you spend millions of dollars to buy land in one of the most remote places on Earth? Imagine being a world-famous filmmaker like James Cameron, the creator of Titanic and Avatar, leaving Hollywood behind to live on a distant island in the Pacific Ocean. That's exactly what's happening today. The world's richest and most famous people are racing to secure a ticket to survival in New Zealand. Peter Thiel, founder of PayPal and an early investor in Facebook, spent millions of dollars to obtain New Zealand citizenship, even though he stayed in the country for only 12 days. Hundreds of Silicon Valley elites are building underground bunkers there, equipped with the latest survival technologies. But why? What makes these remote islands at the edge of the world safer than the most powerful nations on Earth? Today, we'll uncover the secrets of New Zealand, a nation that has ranked among the most peaceful countries on the planet for over 15 consecutive years and has become the ultimate refuge for the wealthy preparing for the end of the world. You'll discover how a country about the size of the United Kingdom, but with fewer people than London alone, has become one of the safest places on Earth. Geographical isolation, the most secure location on the planet. The first secret behind New Zealand's safety lies in its extraordinary geography. Look at a world map. You'll find it deep in the South Pacific, a forgotten land at the end of the earth, and that's not an exaggeration. New Zealand is one of the most isolated inhabited countries in the world. It's 2,000 kilometers from Australia, 7,000 from Chile, 10,000 from California, and 19,000 from Europe. Any military force trying to reach it would need to cross thousands of kilometers of ocean, making any surprise attack nearly impossible. But isolation isn't just about distance. New Zealand consists of two main islands surrounded by more than 700 smaller ones, forming a natural maze of land and water. Its terrain itself is a fortress. The Southern Alps rising to 3,724 meters, active volcanoes, deep fjords, and dense forests. Even if an invader reached its shores, the rugged terrain would slow them down and make any advance extremely costly. This isolation proved its power during the COVID-19 pandemic. While much of the world was sinking into chaos, New Zealand closed its borders swiftly and controlled the virus almost completely. The result? Fewer than 3,000 deaths in New Zealand compared to over 1 million in the United States. Experts call it the island advantage, the ability to fully control what enters and leaves the country. Political stability, a democracy without chaos. While much of the world faces political turmoil, coups, and civil wars, New Zealand seems to live in a parallel universe of calm and order. It ranks number 1 in global peace since 2008, number 1 in anti-corruption, and number 2 in political stability, second only to Singapore. How did it achieve that? Through a unique political system called mixed member proportional representation, where every vote counts and all voices are heard in parliament. This reduces polarization and forces parties to cooperate instead of clash. The population itself reflects this harmony. About 70% of European descent, 17% Maori, 15% Asian, and 8% Pacific Islander, all coexisting peacefully. When the Christchurch terrorist attack struck in 2019, the country didn't fall apart. It united under Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, sending a powerful message against hate. New Zealand has long been a pioneer of social progress. The first country to grant women the right to vote in 1893, the first to appoint a female Governor General, and the first to have all top positions, Prime Minister, Governor General, and Chief Justice, held by women at the same time. Such progress builds a stable and cohesive society. Self-sufficiency, an island that feeds the world. Here lies the third secret behind New Zealand's strength, its incredible self-reliance. Imagine a nation the size of the UK but with just 5.2 million people, yet it produces enough food to feed 40 million? That's 8 times its own population. 10 million cows, 26 million sheep, more than 5 animals for every person. Fonterra, the New Zealand dairy giant, is the world's largest exporter of dairy products. Agriculture accounts for 70% of all exports, so even if global supply chains collapse, New Zealand could feed itself for years. 85% of its electricity comes from renewable energy, 60% hydropower, 17% geothermal, 5% wind. That makes it one of the world's greenest and most sustainable nations. Its nature is an endless resource. Glaciers for fresh water, rainforests for timber, vast coastlines for fish, and fertile lands for year-round farming, a diversity that guarantees survival even in the harshest times. Smart defense, the strategy of passive protection. How does a country with just 15,000 soldiers defend itself? With a strategy known as passive defense. Instead of maintaining a massive army, New Zealand relies on natural and political factors that make attacking it pointless. Its isolation means any invader would need a huge navy and long, vulnerable supply lines, an impossible and costly task. It's also protected by powerful alliances, the ANZUS Pact with Australia and the United States, and the Five Eyes intelligence network. Attacking New Zealand would mean facing global superpowers. It also follows a peaceful, neutral foreign policy. It declared itself a nuclear-free zone in 1987 and contributes to peacekeeping missions worldwide. In short, it poses no threat to anyone, and no one sees it as a target. The strategy is simple but brilliant. Make attacking you too expensive to be worth it, and be a useful ally instead of a potential enemy. That's why New Zealand hasn't seen war on its soil since the Maori conflicts of the 19th century. The billionaire refuge. Why the rich flee to the end of the world. Now the big question, why are billionaires racing to the edge of the world? Peter Thiel, worth $7 billion, spent millions to get citizenship after only 12 days in the country. James Cameron moved there permanently. Neil Blomkamp, director of District 9, did the same. Hundreds of hedge fund managers and tech founders are building luxury bunkers across New Zealand. They know something the public doesn't. They know the global system is fragile. They know pandemics, nuclear wars, economic collapse, and climate disasters aren't fantasies. They're possibilities, and they're preparing. The investor visa program requires at least 1.8 million US dollars, or 6 million for faster residency. It's already brought in more than $8 billion in investment. In 2021, the government eased property restrictions for the wealthy, triggering a new wave of golden migration. But these billionaires aren't just buying mansions, they're building underground fortresses with air and water filtration, long-term generators, massive food reserves, advanced communications, and private helicopter pads. These aren't homes. They're survival castles for a collapsing world. Culture and identity, the power of soft strength. What truly makes New Zealand special isn't just its geography or economy, it's its culture, a blend of ancient Maori tradition and modern Western innovation. This fusion created a strong national identity that resists division and extremism. The Maori, who arrived over 700 years ago, built a culture centered on nature, ancestors, and community. Their language, Te Reo Maori, is official, and many place names, like Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, come from it. The traditional war dance, the haka performed by the All Blacks rugby team before every game, has become a global symbol of unity and pride. It captures the spirit of the New Zealand people, strong, proud, and fearless. The country's breathtaking landscapes inspired the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies, drawing millions of tourists and billions in revenue. This film tourism boosted New Zealand's soft power and made it a dream destination. It's also a land of innovation, from the first powered flight in 1903 to the electric refrigerator, organ transplant techniques, and even bungee jumping, a creative spirit that keeps it ready for the future. Hidden challenges. Is paradise at risk? But paradise isn't perfect. Behind the peaceful image, real challenges exist. Isolation, while protective, makes living costs sky high. Flights are long and expensive, and the over 24 hours to Europe, and imported goods cost a fortune. Young people struggle to afford homes as prices soar. The economy depends heavily on two trade partners. China takes 28% of exports and Australia 21%. Any tension with either could hurt deeply. Climate change brings rising seas, stronger storms, and shifting rainfall, threatening agriculture, the backbone of the economy. And the influx of wealthy foreigners is creating social tension. Locals feel their country is being sold off. Is New Zealand the future? So? Is New Zealand truly the last safe haven? Can this paradise endure in a world growing more unstable by the day? New Zealand offers a vision of the future, sustainable, self-sufficient, peaceful, and fair. It proves that solutions exist: renewable energy, social harmony, smart governance, and respect for nature. But can other nations follow this path? Or is New Zealand's success tied to unique geography and history that can't be copied? One thing is certain: New Zealand has become a symbol of hope in a chaotic world. It shows that paradise on earth is possible, even if it lies at the end of the world. And maybe that's why the rich are so obsessed with it. Not just because it's safe, but because it represents a vision of a better future. One we could all build if we learn the right lessons from this small, distant island. In the end, New Zealand reminds us of a simple truth. Real security doesn't come from armies or money, but from building a just, sustainable, and compassionate society, a lesson the entire world needs now more than ever. At the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula lies a small island covering only 734 square kilometers, 3 times smaller than New York City. This island, once a poor British colony and a swamp filled with malaria and disease, is now one of the richest and most advanced nations in the world. Singapore, the city-state with almost no natural resources and not even enough drinking water, has transformed itself into a global financial and trade hub. It now operates the world's busiest port by shipping tonnage and stands as a model of urban planning and sustainable development. But how did this little red dot, as former Indonesian President B.J. Habibie once mockingly called it, achieve such a miracle? How did it maintain its independence and sovereignty in a turbulent region surrounded by much larger nations like Indonesia and Malaysia? And how did it come to dominate one of the world's most critical trade arteries, the Strait of Malacca, through which nearly a quarter of all global maritime trade passes? Today, we'll dive deep into the story of Singapore's rise, uncovering the strategies that turned this tiny island of just 5.9 million people into an economic giant and a serious geopolitical force. Strategic location, geography's priceless gift. The secret of Singapore's success lies in its exceptional geographic position. Located at the southern entrance of the Strait of Malacca, one of the most important waterways in the world, often called Asia's Suez Canal. This strait, stretching 900 kilometers long and between 65 and 250 kilometers wide, forms the shortest sea route between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. It connects Asia's biggest economies, China, Japan, and South Korea, with the rest of the world, including Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Every year, about 94,000 ships pass through the Malacca Strait. That's roughly 250 ships per day, or one ship every 6 minutes. These vessels carry about 25% of total global maritime trade, including 80% of China's oil imports, 60% of Japan's and South Korea's energy imports, and 25% of all goods traded worldwide. Any closure or disruption in this strait would have catastrophic consequences for the global economy, giving Singapore enormous geopolitical leverage far beyond its small size. Because of this unique position, Singapore became the natural port and mandatory stop for all these ships. The Port of Singapore is the second busiest port in the world by cargo tonnage after Shanghai, handling 37.2 million TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units annually. It's also the world's largest bunkering port, supplying over 50 million tons of marine fuel per year, about 1/4 of global demand. These figures make Singapore a vital hub for global maritime trade and an indispensable transit point for vessels worldwide. This didn't happen by chance. From its founding in 1819 by Sir Stamford Raffles as a trading post for the British East India Company, Singapore was designed to be a free port and commercial hub. After gaining independence in 1965, the Singaporean government heavily invested in expanding and modernizing the port, turning it into one of the most efficient and competitive in the world. Today, its terminals use the latest automated cranes and smart cargo tracking systems, ensuring smooth logistics and minimal waiting times for ships. From swamp to global financial powerhouse. When Singapore was forcibly separated from Malaysia in 1965, it faced what seemed like impossible challenges. No natural resources, no strategic depth, no sufficient drinking water, and no strong military. Its GDP per capita was just $516. Unemployment stood at 12%, and ethnic tensions among Chinese, Malays, and Indians threatened social stability. The situation was so bleak that founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew cried publicly when independence was announced, fearing an uncertain future. But instead of despair, Singapore's leadership, led by Lee Kuan Yew and his team of Western-educated technocrats, launched an ambitious economic plan. They focused on attracting foreign investment, developing high-value industries, building an educated workforce, and creating world-class infrastructure. This approach, known as the Singapore model, became a benchmark for developing nations worldwide. Today, Singapore ranks as the third largest financial center in the world, after London and New York. It's a global hub for technology and innovation, and one of the top exporters of electronics and chemicals. Its GDP per capita now exceeds 72,000 USD 2023, higher than the United States, Germany, or Japan, a 140-fold increase in just 58 years, one of the most impressive economic transformations in modern history. Singapore's economy relies heavily on international trade, finance, and high-tech manufacturing. The main sectors include finance, 13% of GDP, manufacturing, 20%, trade, 17%, business services, 15%, and transport and communications, 8%. It's also a biotech and R&D leader, hosting major global firms such as Google, Facebook, and Microsoft. Singapore consistently ranks among the top countries for ease of doing business and economic freedom. With a transparent legal system, advanced infrastructure, and world-class education, it attracts multinational corporations from around the globe. Its government provides generous tax incentives and foreign business support, solidifying its status as Asia's business capital. Defense and diplomacy, the hedgehog and the poisonous fish strategy. Despite its small size, Singapore maintains one of the most advanced and capable militaries in Southeast Asia. It follows a unique defense doctrine known as the hedgehog or poisonous fish strategy, which aims to make any attack on the country extremely costly, discouraging potential aggressors. This strategy combines military, economic, and diplomatic deterrence, not just brute force. Singapore spends around 3.2% of its GDP on defense, approximately $15.5 billion in 2023, one of the highest rates in the region and the world. Singapore also invests heavily in military technology, including air defense systems, anti-ship missiles, drones, and electronic warfare. However, Singapore's real power lies in diplomacy. It pursues a pragmatic, balanced foreign policy, maintaining strong relations with all major powers, including the US, China, Russia, the EU, India, and Japan. It is a founding member of ASEAN and plays an active role in promoting regional cooperation and collective security. Singapore hosts a U.S. naval base, Changi Naval Base, and allows American forces to use its facilities, providing added security while maintaining strong economic ties with China, its largest trading partner since 2013. This delicate balancing act enables Singapore to retain independence and avoid being drawn into conflicts between major powers. Water and environmental challenges. Surviving as a resource-limited island, one of Singapore's biggest challenges is freshwater scarcity. About 40% of its water supply is imported from neighboring Malaysia under long-term agreements, exposing it to potential political pressures. Singapore developed a comprehensive water strategy known as 4 national taps: local catchment water, rainwater, imported water, reclaimed water, NEWZEALAND, desalinated water. The country is a global leader in water recycling and desalination technology. Desalination plants supply about 30% of national water needs, while NEWZEALAND provides roughly 40%. These investments not only ensure water security but also make Singapore an exporter of water technologies worldwide. Singapore also faces environmental challenges due to its high population density, 8,000 people per square kilometer, and limited green spaces. It introduced the concept of a city in a garden, with green areas covering approximately 47% of the country's land. This innovative urban planning has made Singapore one of the greenest cities in the world, despite its density. Challenges in the future: sustaining the miracle. Despite its success, Singapore faces complex challenges. It relies heavily on global trade, which accounts for over 300% of its GDP, making it vulnerable to global economic fluctuations and geopolitical tensions. Any slowdown in world trade, conflict in the South China Sea, or closure of the Strait of Malacca could significantly impact its economy. Demographically, Singapore struggles with an aging population and a low birth rate of 1.05 children per woman, one of the lowest globally. This leads to a shrinking workforce and increasing pressure on social services and pensions. To mitigate this, Singapore relies on foreign labor, which makes up about 40% of the workforce, raising issues of social integration and public service pressure. Climate change and rising sea levels pose existential threats. Singapore sits at an average elevation of just 15 meters above sea level, making it prone to flooding and coastal erosion. The government plans to invest over 100 billion Singapore dollars in the coming decades to build sea barriers, coastal defenses, and new technologies to protect the island. Singapore has repeatedly demonstrated its adaptability and innovation. It invests around 2% of GDP in R&D, building a resilient and sustainable economy. It also takes bold steps against climate change, including water management technologies, renewable energy, vertical farming, and smart cities. Singapore's story is an inspiring tale of turning challenges into opportunities and weakness into strength. Through strategic vision, wise leadership, hard work, and human capital investment, this small city-state became a global giant far exceeding its size. It proves that geography matters, but human ingenuity, adaptability, and long-term planning are what create miracles. In a world facing climate challenges, geopolitical tensions, and technological shifts, Singapore offers a unique model of good governance, sustainable development, and peaceful multicultural coexistence. It demonstrates that small nations can play a major global role, and success is not exclusive to large countries. Singapore's rise from a poor swamp to a global trade, finance, and technology hub offers lessons for nations worldwide. Invest in human capital and education, build world-class infrastructure, implement flexible, open economic policies, maintain balanced diplomacy, innovate, and plan for future challenges. Ultimately, Singapore proves that vision, willpower, and determination can achieve the impossible.